Jack Fetterman always believed that you combined education, you create jobs, and you improve the quality of life. This is what Jack Fetterman stood for in every single project he ever did. I hear periodically that people say that, gee, we need leaders in this community, and obviously they're not sitting here today because they're not looking out at the people I look at, because I see leaders all the time. I see leaders teaching third grade at Hallmark Elementary program. I see leaders working at Snoozland School. I see leaders working for the United Way. I see leaders each and everywhere I go. I saw leaders in the city council of Pensacola when this project was there. Having gone to a few city council meetings, having read a few letters to the editor, and no longer, but even having one time used to read comments on the website, I understand that it can be pretty tough in this town to be a leader. It would have been very easy for the city council when we presented just to say, no, there's some negativity, there's some pushback, let's not do that. But our city council did not do that. And I want to congratulate Councilman Nobles, Wiggins, Jewel Canada Wynn, P.C. Wu, Ron Townsend, John Geralds, J.T. Smith, and Mike DeSorbo, and our Mayor Fogg for saying to our community, we believe in moving this forward. We believe in education. We believe in jobs. We believe in improved quality of life. So please join me in thanking those city council people that stepped out. As we all know, we have a Supreme Court ruling before us. We have a Supreme Court ruling, we hope, that comes back and allows us to move forward. But I very much encourage the leaders of our city to look for ways to fund this project no matter which way the Supreme Court comes down, because I absolutely feel we need economic development and we need this project now more than ever. Let's look at the history. Just give me a brief time to talk a little bit about history, because I was getting ready for this talk, I was thinking about history. I was thinking about history seems to be full of risk, full of action, and full of improving quality of life. It also means sometimes doing things that other people just don't think are possible or even sensible. In fact, years ago when people started sailing for Europe, people thought they were absolutely insane because they were going to fall off the face of the earth and die. If we didn't have those risk takers, those people that took action, we would not be enjoying the quality of life we do today. I read the book 1776, and I was quite surprised that when a group of leaders declared their independence from Great Britain, about 50% of the citizens did not want to be independent. They thought it was absolutely insane not to have another country take care of them. In fact, people like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and Benjamin Franklin many times weren't even in the inner cities of Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. They were in the outskirts because everybody just didn't think it was possible. If you read the book 1776, they talk about George Washington and the pressure he was under in times when he wanted to just back out, but he didn't. See, our forefathers had risk. They took action to give us our freedom and a better quality of life. The Constitution was written, and it had two interesting thoughts. It promised people freedom while it protected slavery. Those two values were just too conflicting. In the 1860s, it just couldn't keep our country any longer. We had some great people that fought the Civil War. They fought the Civil War. They took risk. They took action so we could enjoy a diverse quality of life where all people could enjoy a quality of life. These are what risk takers and leaders do. How about women's voting? Let's think about women's voting. Do you know people actually, when they said women should vote, it wasn't the most popular idea at the time. Thank God we didn't have a referendum back then, because the only people voting were men, and I'm not sure they would have voted that way. Now, I know us men here would have, but I'm talking about other men. Aren't we richer today because we have the vote of women? Of course, then we go up to the Civil Rights Act, and we find out that people took risks back then in the 1960s. They took risk, they took action, so we can enjoy a better quality of life. Risk, action, and quality of life were what Jack Fetterman stood for. Jack Fetterman was in the Navy. Jack Fetterman, I told somebody the other day how many times Jack Fetterman landed on a carrier and they were in the state of shock because it's so much more than most. Jack Fetterman told me the time he hid out because he was afraid he wouldn't pass his physical, and he desperately wanted to keep flying because that was his life. When Jack Fetterman left the active duty, he might have resigned from the Navy, but he never resigned for active duty. He just went from being employed by the Navy to being employed by the people of our community, because that was Jack Fetterman. What can he do to improve the quality of life for other people? He took the Naval Air Museum, and he took it from a place that maybe saw 300,000 or 400,000 visitors to 1 million visitors. 2 Saturdays ago, I had friends in from Wisconsin, and on Saturday, I said, I got to take you to the Naval Air Museum. You just won't believe what an unbelievable place that is. I was so pleased when I was there because it was crowded. I also saw some things that are they've taken interactive education, and they've really brought it to the museum. And I thought how grateful Jack would be that they took something that he had built and are continuing to make it better. I also thought about how great it would be if those people had another couple places to stop because they'd stay overnight. When I think of Jack Fetterman, I think what life would be like without Jack Fetterman. There's a great movie called It's a Wonderful Life where somebody named Clarence takes George Bailey through Bedford Falls and shows George what Bedford Falls would be like without him. What would life be without Jack Fetterman have lived here? Do you think the Navy base would still be here? I don't know. I just know Jack Fetterman, even though it was uncomfortable, would get on a plane and fly to Washington, D.C. to fight for this town because he understood the Navy, 1, through education of sailors, 2, through creating jobs for our community, created a quality of life, not only for people of Pensacola, from the entire world, because they protect our freedom. What about Jack Fetterman? Remember the Oriskany? I remember the Oriskany. I remember Jack Fetterman fighting for the Oriskany. Why? Education. 2, jobs. 3, improved quality of life. 3 weeks ago, I had to read, Kevin, it was a great article in the Pensacola News Journal about what that has done for economic development. I remember that wasn't easy on Jack, and I remember that Jack was even criticized. I remember Jack, even though he was frail and ill at the time, was getting criticized for trying to bring the Oriskany here, and some people thought it would never happen. I remember Jack right near the end in a wheelchair when we took him to a meeting at the IHMC and they had just announced that it was really going to be going down after some delays, looked out into the audience and said, I accept your apology. Jack Fetterman always knew to maybe take a little humor would put a little salve over the hurt. Finally, the Community Maritime Park, Jack Fetterman's final vision. Jack Fetterman wanted to rediscover the water in our community. This Saturday, I was at Gulf Breeze Chamber of Commerce, and they showed a picture of Pensacola in the 1800s, and the downtown was filled with people. There were ships everywhere, and I thought, this is what Jack Fetterman wants to bring back. Jack Fetterman wants to bring back a place where you can celebrate family. He wants to bring back a place where you can have education. He wants every child in this community to go to the Community Maritime Park and walk through that museum and learn a little bit more about the treasure we have in our community. He wants every senior citizen or every adult to walk through there and understand the sacrifices that made Pensacola quite wonderful and the education that we can do to continue. Jack Fetterman saw the Community Maritime Park like he always did, something that combined education and jobs to make a better quality of life for all those people. Rishi and I share Jack Fetterman's vision. We share his commitment to a better quality life for our community. And we're very fortunate by the grace of God that we have the ability to donate this money because I think it's a wise investment in our community. Thank you very much.